presented by State Farm. It is cool but sunny, and after a rainout yesterday, we will get in the rubber match today. Cubs and the Cardinals wrap up a season-opening 3-game series. Yeah, great to have you with us from St. Louis. We've been here 6 nights, 3 games only. As Joe Madden said, the second spring training, so to speak. Jim DeShays, Len Casper. And let's go back to Tuesday night's thrilling Cubs 2-1 win. Jake Arrieta was very good.
Yeah, Arrieta on top of his game. And, you know, Jake kind of struggled the second half of last year. Ultimately put up very good numbers, but good to see him to get off to a great start. He went 9 up, 9 down to start the ball game. Had real good movement on his fastball, good command of the breaking pitch. Punched out 6, allowed just 1 run. It was unearned.
Cubs didn't hit the ball that hard in the 4th inning, but they got 2 runs to basically win the game. Hayward with the bloop single. The squeeze bunt by Baez, giving Jake a 2-0 lead. 5th inning now. Little dribbler, and actually 2 errors on the play by Baez. That was a rough inning for Stephen Piscotty. More on his status a little bit later on. And then the defense really was the story of the night.
Yeah, and this has been a point of emphasis throughout spring training for Joe Madden, talking about DP, the defense. He's hoping that it will lead the way this year, and it certainly was outstanding. The other night, a home run robbing catch by Almore. You saw Hayward doing his thing out in right field, and Javi Baez with an outstanding play to end the ball game. And that's the nature of early season baseball, cold weather, not a lot of points go up on the board. You got to play good defense.
And Baez here, just able to get Wong at first. The play was reviewed. Cubs win 2-1 the final. So after dropping the opener, they come back to even up the series. Adam Wainwright, not bad, but he takes the loss. 2 runs in his 5 innings of work. So the styles today are pretty similar. John Lackey and Lance Lynn, they like their fastball, and for John Lackey, he loves pitching in this ballpark.
Yeah, Lackey, who pitched for the Cardinals a couple of seasons ago, has been very good here at Busch Stadium. Lifetime here, 12-4 with a 2.02 ERA. Pitched very well against St. Louis last year. He made 4 starts against them and had an ERA of 2.03. And Lance Lynn, coming out off Tommy John surgery, did not pitch at all in the big leagues last year. He started his career with really good numbers against the Cubs, but more recently, last 5 starts against Chicago, 0-3 with a 6.46 ERA.
It has been a thrilling series as both games have been 1-run decisions. Walk-off win for the Cardinals Sunday. Cubs defensively doing the job Tuesday. We'll have Game 3 coming up after the break.
Cubs baseball on CSN Chicago is brought to you in part by Lexus, who encourages you to experience amazing. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, through it all. Ford, who invites you to go further in their fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your local Ford store or buyfordnow.com. Menards, save big money at Menards. And Southwest Airlines, yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency.
Former Cub and World Series champion Dexter Fowler saying hi to his former teammates Kyle Schwarber and Chris Bryant. John Jay, now a Cub, making his first start of the season this afternoon. It's cool, but it's dry. Sunny skies above. Yesterday the forecast looked really bad, and the way it turned out, we may have been able to get the game in, but as Joe Maddon says, he was fine with the decision to call the game off in the late morning hours.
The information all indicated that it was going to rain heavily all day, and everybody made their best guess, which I appreciated, because it's the worst thing is, as you know, to hang around all day. Game started, game stopped, game started, game stopped, and that's what it read like. So I give them credit for making a decision like, even if it didn't turn out that it turned out we could have played. Excuse me, based on the intel at the time, it showed that we probably couldn't play. Listen, I can't speak for everything. All I'm saying is that the intel that we got was that it was going to pour all day, and that, you know, if you're in the clubhouse, the worst thing to do is to be in the clubhouse not knowing you're there all day, and then, okay, we're going to go out, then you got the proverbial window, then the window closes, and so they called off the jam. And even though it might have been wrong as it turned out, I'm okay with it, because it's an imperfect science regarding weather prediction, of course. But listen, I'd rather have the day off in Chicago, no question. But that was the call, and I'm good with it.
Yeah, that was another thing. They didn't let you go. They didn't let you out of town.
You would have to stop at least once, because there's at least an hour heavy rain.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't even know how it all played out, but it's just a matter of it's the worst. And then you lose maybe a starting pitcher, and then this thing we wanted to do might have gone away based on availabilities, and Lackey would have been screwed up for his neck. There's so many things. So again, it's awkward, but I'm okay with it.
Two things, JD. Some days you just have to call off the jam. And secondly, if the worst case scenario for everybody in uniform is sitting around all day, then having the game canceled, so the off day becomes sitting at the ballpark all day. You'd rather have it called early or make sure you definitely can get the game in.
Right, and as Joe said, the forecast was for rain all day yesterday. It didn't materialize the way they had thought. So, yeah, we probably could have gotten the game in, but I get it. It made sense. And that's always the challenge of the early season with weather and scheduled off days. Sometimes it's tough to get into the rhythm and flow of the season. And, yeah, tip of the cap to Joe Maddon, because not many managers are going to drop a roller derby reference in their pregame comments.
Nothing better. Here's the Cubs Southwest starting lineup. Same lineup we would have seen had the game been played yesterday. Kyle Schwarber went hitless last season, but off to a very good start. 2 hits and 2 walks already this year. Bryant looking for his first hit. Rizzo, Zobrist playing his 3rd defensive position already. Russell at short. Hayward, who had the game-winning hit on Tuesday, is in right. Miguel Montero makes his season debut, batting ahead of the pitcher John Lackey, and John Jay, former Cardinal and Padre, in the lineup for the first time.
Let's check in with the Cardinals defensively. Big Matt Adams played a couple innings out there the other day. That was the first time he's appeared in the outfield as a professional. Today he'll make his first ever start in the outfield. Dexter Fowler's in center. Randall Grichuk will play right. He's got a good arm out there. Jed Jerko plays all over the infield. He's a 3rd baseman today. Diaz, Wong in the middle. Matt Carpenter, everyday duty now as a first baseman. And Yadier Molina, the great Gold Glove winning catcher, is behind the plate. The Lexus pursuing perfection starting pitcher for the Cardinals today is Lance Lynn, out all last year, as we mentioned in our open, coming off of Tommy John surgery. So his last season, 2015, a 12-game winner, a 3.03 ERA. Lifetime, he is 61 up, 39 down with a 3.37.
That's Quinn Wolcott. He'll call balls and strikes, among other things. He'll also sweep off home plate when necessary. Chris Siegel at first. The crew chief Paul Emmel is at second, and Brian Onora is at third. And if Kyle Schwarber gets a hit in this plate appearance, Binny's Beverage Depot will donate $100 to the Greater Chicago Food Depository.
Len, big dude, 6'5", 240, works from the first base side of the rubber, and as Len mentioned, he is very dependent on his fastball. Now, he can touch 97, typically sits comfortably 93, 94, but he gets good movement on his two-seamer, and he throws that over 80% of the time, typically.
1-1 on Schwarber.
So he kind of belies that old philosophy that a pitcher's really got to mix them up. You have movement, velocity, and location. You get a lot of things working in your favor.
Popped up, and this will make the seats near the Cubs third base dugout. 55 degrees. And I would say with a sweatshirt, comfortable.
Sweatshirt and a ski cap.
Ski cap helps.
A little breezy down there.
Fly ball out into left center. Adams, who made his outfield debut Tuesday, makes the catch.
Well, and that's going to be important for Adams to show Mike Matheny that he can do a credible job out there, because Matheny's going to want Carpenter in the lineup just about every day at first base, and that's where Adams has gotten his at-bats in the past. To that end, the big fella has shed quite a few pounds, should be more mobile, and probably should be able to handle left field.
Swing and a miss by Chris Bryant, 0 for 9 with 4 strikeouts to start the season, but nobody's worried. Hit .340 during spring training.
Len, we mentioned the fastball dependence. He also has a slider, curve, and a change that he rarely uses. And I would think their game plan against Chris would be to try to elevate fastballs, get up above the hands. He's better down than up.
Molina will give it a look, with no play. Lynn is 29. Supplemental round pick back in 2008 out of Ole Miss. Hails from Brownsburg, Indiana, where he had quite a youth career. Not only did his team go to the Little League World Series in 1999, but had a great high school career as well. He went 16-0 as a senior at Brownsburg, hit .400. He was Indiana's Mr. Baseball. That team went undefeated, at the time becoming the second school in Indiana history to do that. The first team to do that, JD, was Don Mattingly's Evansville Memorial Club in 1978. Lynn and Drew Storen combined to go 25-0.
Yeah, well, that's a heck of a 1-2 punch to have to deal with in high school. I think Gene Hackman coached that team.
He may have. His younger brother Glenn, maybe? Called strike 3. Perfectly placed.
Yeah, Molina set up off the outside corner. This is borderline, could have gone either way. Bryant has a very discerning eye. He thought the pitch was off the plate, didn't want to offer at it.
Two outs, nobody on. Rizzo 1 for 7.
It's a little frustrating when you started the year 0 for 9 and you get rung up on a borderline pitch like that. Rizzo, the one Cub who's got a decent amount of looks at Lance Lynn. He's 10 out of 29 against him. That's a .345 batting average. He's popped a couple of long balls against him.
High fly ball out into right center. Circling is Grichuk. And the Cubs go in order in the first. John Lackey will face his former team when we return. Starting lineup. Dexter Fowler in the leadoff spot. Diaz the shortstop. JD mentioned Matt Carpenter keeps moving around the Cardinal infield as he's now entrenched at first. Molina will clean up. Adams in left today. Grichuk with that big night Sunday. Jed Jerko gets a start at third for Johnny Peralta. Wong at second and the pitcher Lynn batting ninth.
Cubs in the field this afternoon. Kyle Schwarber is in left field. John Jay returns home. He'll patrol center field here in St. Louis today. Jason Hayward is in right. Bryant, Russell, Zobrist, Rizzo third to first. Miguel Montero makes his first start of the year. And the Lexus pursuing perfection starting pitcher for the Cubs is John Lackey. And 11-8, 335 last year. He is Mr. Dependable. Year in and year out, he puts up numbers very much like those you just saw. He's been doing it for a long time now. 38 years of age.
Bryant in at third against Fowler, who takes a pitch inside. 1-1 strike. We were chatting with Pat and Ron before the game, and Pat asked a great question regarding John Lackey. Ground ball up the middle. Fielded by Russell behind second. Throw in the dirt. But Rizzo bails him out.
Gliding across the middle of the diamond, Russell, and then a nice pick by Rizzo.
So Pat asked the question, are there any players in Major League history who have won a World Series with more teams than John Lackey has, as Diaz fouls away? As an Angel, a Red Sox, and a Cub. And so Mark Grody and I went to Baseball Reference, and we found several players who've been on 3 different teams to win World Series, but nobody with 4. Now, the all-time record for World Series championships with anybody is Yogi Berra, but all 10 were with the Yankees.
Yogi got so many World Series rings, they started making him watches.
Diving stop. Zobrist will not have a play, so Diaz has the first hit of the ball game and his third of the series.
Well, a 300 hitter right on the dot last year was Diaz. He also has power, hit 17 long balls. This time fooled a little bit, but he stays through the zone with the bat. Even without the bobble, I don't know that Zobrist is going to be able to throw him out.
So a man on for Matt Carpenter. We talked a lot last year about the increased power numbers from Carpenter.
Do you remember the Hercules cartoon? It's kind of my time.
Not as well as you.
There was a bad guy in there named Daedalus, and and Matt Carpenter's got a Daedalus kind of look going with that beard.
I'm sure Twitter will.
Yeah, you can Google that at home. Look it up. Will
let us know about
Hercules cartoon Daedalus.
Okay. I would say Carpenter kind of in the Joey Votto mold in terms of the batting order, right? You could hit him first, second, third, and you'd be fine with all of those spots.
Yep, high average hitter, on base skills, walks a lot. And he's shown a willingness to change his game. To less of a line drive hitter, more trying to elevate the ball in recent seasons.
Here's the pitch. Low, it's 3-1.
He's baseball's version of a gym rat. He grew up around the game. His dad was a high school coach in the Houston area, so he's always been around the game, and he seems to have a real good feel for what the job entails. What you need to do as a leadoff hitter if you're hitting in the middle of the order, what that approach should be like.
Full count. John Lackey, 38 years old. In spring training, he was asked a lot about whether or not this will be his final year. It's a final year of his contract. And he said, I will not do the David Ross retirement tour. Whenever I'm done, I just won't show up the next season. Long pause. We'll see if Diaz will be on the move. But John seemed to, by the end of spring training, say, if I feel good, and right now I do,
yeah, why?
I'll probably come back next year.
Yeah,
with somebody.
He's pretty much the same guy as he was when he first broke into the league.
Diaz running, base hit. He'll continue on to third. Cardinals threatening here in the first. So he had been 0 for 11 against Lackey. We chronicled his struggles against Lester, Lackey, and Arrieta. So that's his first career hit against his former teammate.
Diaz easily into third base. Now situation for Lackey, who'll be looking to coax a ground ball off the bat of Molina here. And Molina hits it on the ground a lot. Doesn't run particularly well. A good shot at a double play here.
There it is. You dialed it up. 6.
Oh,
he got the out at second, but a run will score. No outs.
Yeah, he's not going to get anything.
Wow.
Well, no. Carpenter's coming off the field. Cardinals are probably going to take a look at it.
Oh, no, they did call him out. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see if they decide to challenge this. The ball was sharply hit. There was no need for Ben to really be in a hurry here. He just peaked a little bit, never had control of the baseball. Cardinals are going to have the umpires take a look, and they're going to overturn this. You see the frustration on the part of Lackey. He was getting ready to walk back to the dugout. Now he's got a lot of work to do. And Ben Zobrist is going to come in and say, hey, man, sorry.
Molina will end up getting an RBI out of this on what should have been a 6-4-3.
I was marking my scorebook.
Yeah, that was pretty much tailor-made.
Yeah. Well, if you're John Lackey, you just have to regroup, put it behind you, move on, make sure this doesn't turn into a big inning for the Cardinals.
So the call is overturned. Mike Matheny retains his challenge.
That's exactly what you're looking for. Right at the shortstop with pace.
So fielder's choice RBI for Molina. Zobrist charged with an error, 1-0, and still only one out. 0-1 on Adams. At the knees, it's 0-2.
John Lackey usually right near the top of the leaderboard in terms of first pitch strikes. He did just under 70% of the time last year.
Ground ball. Rizzo can't get it. Carpenter around third. He's going to try to score. Here's the throw by Hayward. It's not in time, and it's 2-0 St. Louis.
Adams put up very good numbers against the Cubs last year, and this isn't a bad pitch. It's down, and most big guys like the ball down. They like to use leverage and just be able to drop the barrel of the bat on the ball, as he did there.
Now Grichuk. So 4 consecutive batters have reached, make it 5. 3-0. Grichuk with an RBI single. So he's got 4 knocked in already this season.
How about a mulligan? Cardinals led the league in home runs last year. They have power throughout their batting order. Jerko down here in the 7th spot hit 30 home runs last year.
And a strike. Jerko 0 for 2 in the series. Fouled away. Not too often will you see a 30-homer guy not be an everyday player. First Cardinal last year to start and homer at all 4 infield spots. Called strike 3. That's the 2nd out.
But Quinn Walcott is going to be willing to call that pitch off the outside edge. Yeah, so we talked about Lackey, he's been around so long, but you see the strikeout numbers there, the best of his career in terms of his strikeout rate per 9. His velocity, the same now as it was when he first came into the league. Been a double-digit winner every season that he's been a full-time starting pitcher.
Two and 0 on the 8-hitter Colton Wong. Adams at second, Grichuk at first.
next pitcher on deck, I would think Wong would have the green light here. Lackey thought so too. Feathered in a little get over slider on 3-0.
Well, I'm not sure if it was Giancarlo Stanton, Jason Hayward, whoever started the trend of the extra guard to protect the jaw, but we're seeing a lot of guys do that now, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Javier Baez, Lackey not happy with that Quinn Walcott call. So Lynn will bat here in the first inning. Let's see. Bases loaded for Lynn. I mentioned he was a really good hitter in high school, but that was facing high school pitching. He is an .087 career major league hitter.
Oh my goodness.
Dexter Fowler.
Watch your lips.
Just got out of the way. So a funny thing just happened.
Yep.
I don't use Siri. I don't know if you do on your phone.
I don't. We have a bad relationship, she and I.
It just popped up somehow on my phone, and the quote, "Bases loaded, and Kitty was really going to get her in high school, but facing high school pitching." I'm not sure I understand. Well, Siri, I don't
inadvertently hit a button there and asked Siri a question.
Okay.
That's going to be the next level, right? The technology. They'll have those little, what are they called? Those Alexa out there.
Right.
Alexa, what should I throw on 3 and 2?
Jay back. Now he's in, and he's got it. Could have been scoreless, but the Cardinals take advantage. It's 3-0. Baseball on CSN Chicago is presented by State Farm. So only one of the 3 runs ended up being unearned. But, you know, Ben Zobrist would be the first guy to say, "My bad." And he takes a strike. So he's played right, left, and today second. in the dirt. You mentioned Lynn coming off Tommy John surgery, first start since October of 2015. This is his free agent season. And he said the other day to reporters he's open to a contract extension, but he understands the Cardinals would likely rather wait to see how healthy and effective he is here in the early going.
Yeah, they've been in a mood here at the Cardinals of late. They've signed a number of people, including their manager Mike Matheny, to extensions. But yeah, no doubt they're going to want to see Lynn go for a while and have confidence that he's going to be healthy going forward before they put anything on the table.
Still 2-2. Basically, since Lynn has been in the big leagues, only Bartolo Colon has thrown his fastball more often. And in Colon's case, the fastball really means a couple of different pitches at the very least, as he will manipulate it.
Yeah, that's kind of the irony of it all. Is Colon one of the softest tossers in the game now? He used to be, a guy that could really blow. He'd go mid-90s, but now it's more like 87, 88. But it's movement and location for Colon.
On the ground to Wong, down to a knee.
Following the Cubs' historic World Series championship season, there is tremendous excitement leading up to the home opener. Show your support of Cubs baseball from the beginning. April and May weekday games offer fans the best availability to get the seats you want. Get your tickets now at Cubs.com.
Addison Russell, 2 for 8 with a double and a run scored in the series. Takes ball one.
The other thing about Lynn, too, that makes him tough for hitters is he gives you some angles. He's a big guy, and as I mentioned, he works from the first base side of the rubber. Kind of like Arrieta, not to the extreme. He throws it across his body some.
Right field, not deep. Wong out. It'll be Grichuk, though. And now Jason Hayward. Tell you, the crowd is bigger than I expected. Only in that we weren't supposed to play a game today. This place is almost full. But that speaks to Cubs Cardinals. A few sections in the upper reaches that are maybe half or a third full, but
a lot of blue in the house today.
There is. Yeah, ran into a lot of Cub fans this week. Two balls and a strike. Hayward had the game-winning RBI Tuesday night. Fly ball to right. Grichuk for the final outside, retired 1-2-3. Concussion tests on Wednesday, but our Gig It Time moment powered by Xfinity. High-speed action with a new name, and he said he'll never forget his tour around the bases. He got hit by a pitch and by 2 throws. The last one, basically said he blacked out. He thought he'd been hit in the face, but fortunately caught mostly ear flap. Scary.
Yeah, that was just a crazy trip around the bases for him. Just after signing a 6-year, $33.5 million extension on Monday with the Cardinals, so celebrated that by becoming a human pincushion there for a trip around the bases, but he's good to go.
Mike Matheny has been very outspoken about really taking care of major league players who suffer concussions. His career ended as the result of a concussion, and he was in bad shape for a long time as a result. So second time through the order, and Fowler looks at a strike.
Yeah, that becomes a real challenge for John Lackey facing the top of the order, the second consecutive inning. A lot of times, you know, you give up a couple runs in the first inning, but you get through it down near the bottom of the batting order, so you come out for the second. Maybe you're facing 8-9-1. You've got a chance to build some momentum and settle in, but in this instance, he faced all 9, so he's got to start fresh with Fowler.
And Dexter reaches on an opposite field single. And I should clarify Piscotty's comments. He said, I, quote, definitely didn't black out, but I was stunned and didn't realize what happened on the throw that hit him in the helmet.
They're staying back nicely on that breaking ball, serving the line drive to left. I don't remember seeing a whole lot of that from Dexter. He's shooting the ball the other way.
See if they can turn this one. They do. 5-4-3.
Ryan charges it, creates an angle for that throw to Zobrist. That allows him to make the turn before Fowler could get into him.
So 2 quick outs. Now it's Carpenter. Single and a run in the first. Outside, ball 1. Cubs' next opponent will be the Milwaukee Brewers at Millard Park starting tomorrow night. They're wrapping up a 4-game series today with the Rockies. Rockies have taken 2 of the first 3. No score, bottom of the second in that one. Antonio Senzatella pitching for the Rockies. Chase Anderson for the Brewers. And we'll have it for you on CSN. Coverage starting at 6:30. Brett Anderson makes his Cub debut against right-hander Jimmy Nelson. How about
Milwaukee,
one unbeaten team in the NL right now and 1 team without a win? That's it.
It's parity. Who's unbeaten?
The Nationals. The Pirates are 0-2. Two. Fly ball deep center. Jay tracking just over that arch, cut into the grass. And we've completed 2 from St. Lou. It's 3-0 Cardinals. Cubs baseball on CSN Chicago is presented by State Farm.
Folks, whether you're stuck late at work, at the gym, or on the train, you can now watch your Cubs on the go. Live stream all CSN Chicago Cubs games at csnchicago.com or on the NBC Sports app. No excuses not to tune in.
So I have an idea. We like to bat around some ideas throughout the season on our telecasts. Miguel Montero will bat for the first time this season, and he fouls away. We have built-in off days after opening day, just as a buffer, right? So if Sunday night's game had been rained out, opening day would have been Monday.
Mm-hmm.
We have the same at Wrigley Field next week. The Cubs had 3 off days built into the first 8 days of the season. But because of the capricious nature of the weather in April in many parts of the country, we have rainouts anyway. Ground ball to first. Carpenter will take it unassisted. Do we need to have the built-in off days in addition? Should we just... Because most teams want these off days later in the season.
Correct.
And it always feels like every year, invariably, we talk to coaches and managers about, man, I want to play a lot now. I don't want my guys sitting around.
Yeah. So you're saying not schedule the off day for after opening day?
Just take your chance, and if you play 2 out of 3 instead of 3 out of 3, and then reschedule later if you have to, which tends to happen a lot anyway. So game 2 becomes opening day.
Mm-hmm. See, the problem is the folks that bought a ticket thinking they were going to get opening day would then not have a ticket for opening day. And that's always a big draw.
So that would be the reason.
So that would be the
don't.
one you might always keep open, but some of the other scheduled off days early in the schedule, maybe you could push those till later in the season.
And I believe starting next year we will have extra off days anyway, right? That's part of the new CBA.
Oh, is that right?
I think so.
Does that mean an earlier start to the season?
I don't know.
Or later finish?
Two and two on Lackey. Jay is on deck. And hit well, and a base hit. So John Lackey, by far the best contact early on against Lynn, as the Cubs' first hit.
The ball riding in on him a little bit. Slices it the other way. Nice reception for the former Cardinal, John Jay, as he steps up to home plate. I've got it on good authority from the great Steve Sparks that there will be an earlier start to the season next year.
Okay. Thank you, Sparky. There will be 4 additional off days starting next year. And a strike to Jay.
.291 last year with the Pods. Doesn't hit for power. He's a pretty solid contact guy throughout his big league career. That started with the Cardinals in 2010. He was a second-round draft pick of the Cardinals in 2006 out of the University of Miami.
Could be 2. But Jay able to beat it out.
Not a lot of pace on that ground ball. keeps the inning alive, and that's important because you got a guy striding up to home plate who can hit it in the seats.
And the pitch to Schwarber misses, ball one. If you're following, on the MLB app with Game Day and all of that, and we've got the graphic with the pitch location, all of that now has been centralized, pitchcast by MLB, and they are identifying a lot of these 93, 94s as sliders from Lynn, but that's his fastball, right?
Yeah. It's a rare changeup there. Yeah, he's going to go 92 to 94 for the most part with the heater. If the slider's going to be 86, 87, changeup 85-ish.
That's a strike.
Back-to-back changeups. So now Molina will consider, well, a couple of changeups. Have I slowed him down? Can we jam him with a heater? So far, everything's been away and down.
So if I told you that today is Kyle Schwarber's 74th Major League game, would you say, really? Feels like he's been around.
Well, he's been
such
a big part of the story, yeah.
He's also played in 14 postseason games. That's back out of play.
I just love the at-bats he's taking here in the early going. He's working a lot of deep counts. He has a real good idea what he's doing up there. Rarely goes out of the zone. The other night, first time up, deep count, went 3-2, saw a lot of pitches, worked a walk. Next time up, first pitch challenge fastball, he jumped all over it, just missed hitting it out of the ballpark.
Jay at first, 2 outs. Cubs trail 3-0 here in the third. Jay runs, swing and a miss.
Out of his game that time.
Lynn's got 2 strikeouts and a 3-0 lead in the third.
The MLB.com Ballpark app is your free, secure, and convenient way to instantly access Cubs tickets via your mobile device. Download the app at the App Store or Google Play and begin using Ballpark today. For more information, visit Cubs.com/Ballpark app.
Molina, an RBI fielder's choice in the first inning. Looked like it was going to be an inning-ending 6-4-3 double play. And it opened the door to 3 Cardinal runs. Molina since 2011 has hit .351 with now, if we added that RBI, 18 go-ahead RBIs against the Cubs. One ball and 2 strikes.
And dealt with injuries a couple of years ago. Had a nice bounce back season last year, hitting better than .300.
He's got that extra jaw guard as well. Two from Lackey is punched down the right field line, out of play. Molina signed a 3-year, $60 million extension on opening day Sunday. Full count, 3-2 on deck. Matt Adams. Looking like Molina will be a lifelong Cardinal. He got his shot with this team due to an injury to Mike Matheny. And he chased a bad one. Lackey strikes him out.
Molina doesn't strike out very often. He's a contact guy. Only struck out 11% of the time last year, well below league average, but a little overly anxious there. Chase that slider off the plate. You see the big leg kick. He's not trying to punch one the other way there. He's looking to do damage. He's guessing fastball, and he guessed wrong. Thought he had his old battery mate figured out.
Adams will need a new bat. Hey, tonight 2 teams sitting at the top of their divisions face off in a Western Conference showdown. Hawks, Ducks. Coverage begins at 8:30 on CSN Plus with Chevy Blackhawks pregame live or stream live on the NBC Sports app. One and one to Adams. The Blackhawks played in this ballpark, didn't they? This winter against
one
the
of those
Blues.
Winter Series games, yeah.
Yeah. One and two. Here it comes. Now 2-2.
Well, St. Louis, a 2-sport team. You know, the football team moved away. You know that. And they're trying to get a soccer team here, an MLS team, and the stadium proposal got voted down. This has always been a big soccer city.
Hands over his head and a 2-2. He struck him out. Back-to-back Ks for Lackey.
Curveball that time gets the job done.
Grichuk digs in. RBI single in the first.
John saw a spike in his strikeout rate last year from the year before. 2 years ago with the Cardinals, he posted a .277 ERA, which was the best of his major league career. He saw his strikeout rate jump up by 5 percentage points last year. I think part of it, the philosophy in St. Louis, going back to the years where Dave Duncan was the pitching coach here. A lot of two-seamers, pitch to contact. I think John threw his slider a little bit more last year. So that could be a swing and miss pitch for him.
Well, you said it last year early on that Lackey, with the consistent velocity on his pitches throughout his career, has been pretty remarkable. 2-2.
Typically, guys get into their mid-30s and you start to see velocity go down a bit by bit each year. Just a mile here, a mile and a half the next year, and before you know it, you're a guy that was once going 93, 94, who's at 89, 90. But he has been able to defy that.
He just struck out the side. All swinging. The guys who all knocked in runs in the first. Molina, then Adams, followed by Grichuk.
Cubs checking and an official Cubs MasterCard debit card only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Member FDIC. Go time, 2-3-4 here. Second look at Lynn.
Bryant still seeking his first hit of the season. And a foul strike. Lynn working from the first base side of the rubber. That pitch inside, and Chris didn't flinch at all. Almost looking like he wouldn't have minded it that it hit him. Now 2-1.
Been working him in. They've been working him up, trying to prevent him from getting extended. Oof. He will lament Not getting into that one unless he, finds something else from Lynn in this at bat. But that was a pretty good pitch to hit.
Down the left field line, and it is just foul.
Put a good swing on that one, and Lynn got away with a little bit of a spinner, trying to throw him a slider. It sat right there in the middle of the plate.
Another 2-2. He struck him out for the second time today. That is 3 for Lynn.
Kind of a low 3/4 arm angle for Lynn, and he's good at elevating that fastball.
Rizzo flied to right. His first time up.
Double time. Ooh, could have been low. It's a big man up there. Lift that one a little bit, give Quinn Walcott a better look. Essentially stealing it for his pitcher.
Now, you never sat out an entire year due to an arm injury, right?
Did not, no.
I'd have to imagine there's some butterflies, right?
Oh,
from Lance
sure.
Lynn. I mean, we mentioned the fact he's in his free agent season. Did not pitch at all last year. Pretty important time in his career, 29 years old, due to hit free agency at age 30.
Yeah, I would imagine there were some extra butterflies anxious to get back out there in a real game. He pitched 6 minor league innings last year, and of course had this spring to get ready, but still nothing like that first regular season outing.
Good battle here between Lynn and Rizzo. I don't know if you subscribe to the Players Tribune. I do get those emails every once in a while. And a really nice piece penned by Anthony earlier this week about Game 7 in Cleveland. He admitted he didn't sleep much the night before and actually had a lot of self-doubt. Pounds that one on the ground to Carpenter.
I did not read that story.
Yeah, you should, I'll send it to you.
Does it cost money to subscribe?
I don't think so. I think
okay.
it's free to subscribe.
So what did he say? What was
just said you think about how enormous it is, and just admitted he was nervous going into Game 7.
I can imagine. I think everybody had to be nervous.
I think he wrote about, I hope I don't have a ball go through my legs.
I think I remember hearing him talk about that around the time of the convention. He was asked about it, and he had those thoughts.
Yeah, it says, what if I let a ball go through my legs? What if I strike out with a game on the line? What if I drop the ball in the last out of the World Series?
Well, the whole Billy Buckner experience, right? Everybody in the game, remember, and how he was vilified for so long in Boston, and especially with the Cubs, with 108 years of not winning, in the World Series with so much on the line.
Two and two on Zobrist. You see Lynn away. Jerko will throw out Zobrist. Lynn has been sharp through 4, allowing just 1 hit so far. Back here in sunny but cool St. Louis, Cardinals in the rubber match lead 3-0. Where were you the last time the Cubs opened the season as the defending World Series champions? Well, there were only 46 official U.S. states. 10 U.S. presidents had not been born. Jed Jerko in the air to left. Kyle Schwarber drifting back on the warning track, and he makes the grab for the out. So when we say where were you, the answer I think is going to be you weren't you yet. There was no National Hockey League, no NFL, no NBA. The other 3 major sports had yet to be established. Wild.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Gas was only 2 cents a gallon.
We had some fun last night. Had a great dinner with our crew: Mark Brady, Skip Ellison, Vince Lodel. And you know, we have what we call billboards. Cubs baseball on CSN, brought to you by, and we read all of our sponsors. And if we had done that back in April of 1909. Cubs baseball brought to you by The Wheel.
Didn't somebody say fire?
Lonnie's Spittoons. On one bounce to Ben Zobrist.
Lackey weathering the storm after that rough first inning. Counting the double play in the second inning, has retired 8 in a row now. A couple big sturdy right-handers pitching in this game today. It's a good thing the way that wind is blowing. Little guy might get blown around out there.
1-2. Indians off to a 3-0 start.
Yeah, they're doing some damage against that Texas Ranger bullpen. Francisco Lindor with a 9th-inning grand slam.
First
grand
grand
game last night.
slam of his career. George Springer, 3-run homer in the 13th to beat the Mariners. Astros 3-0 for the first time since 2001.
Dexter repositioning himself. Lynn is lying
Smart.
2 balls over his head now.
Lackey's 2-2 pitch, swing and a miss. Lynn goes down on strikes. Strikeout number 5 for Lackey, trailing 3-0. As we look around baseball and some dramatic finishes last night, we mentioned Lindor. Sandy León, a walk-off 3-run shot for the Red Sox. Sano and Escobar, big nights for the Twins. Cubs trying to get something going against Lance Lynn, a guy they had knocked around a lot a couple of years ago before he went down to Tommy John surgery. But 4 innings, he's allowed 1 hit. That was a John Lackey 3rd-inning single.
Yeah, Lynn in his first career 6 starts against the Cubs, he was 5-1 with a .252. His last 8 starts against the Cubs, 1-5 with a 5.75 earned run average. Had 2 different guys, and Lynn today looks like the guy who got off to that good start against the Cubs in his career. Second time around the order, he has shown an inclination to mix his pitches a little bit more. We've been talking all afternoon about his fastball dependency, but more sliders and changeups here lately.
So fun to look at the batting ratios of certain guys, young players, as they mature at this level. Addison Russell's strikeout rate went down last year, which you would hope for and maybe even expect as he grounds out. Walk rate went up just a little bit.
This Monday, next Monday, the 17th, join the Cubs for the first ever industry night presented by Jim Beam. Restaurateurs, baristas, and concierges are encouraged to buy specially priced tickets for that game to receive a wooden coaster with a built-in bottle opener. That's presented by Jim Beam. For tickets, visit Cubs.com/community nights.
Hayward 0 for 1. Line shot. Top spinner's going to drop in front of Grichuk.
Good swing there. Get on the backside of that one. Hit it on the line. Second hit of the day for the Cubs. John Lackey has the other one.
Now Montero, new role for him as the backup to young Wilson Contreras. Third season with the Cubs. Open the NLCS with the big go-ahead grand slam. He knocked in a run in the 10th inning of Game 7 of the World Series. Hit some big homers in the regular season too. Remember the walk-off against Milwaukee, right? When the Cubs were going to celebrate the division championship.
That's right, yeah. Shown pretty good power the other way the last couple of seasons. Generally does not get cheated in situations like this.
Three and nothing. Cubs have yet to get a runner to second base.
And I'd greenlight him here too, getting down to the bottom of the batting order. Guy who's capable of doing damage. He gets a fastball to his liking. I would like to see him turn it loose.
Pitcher strike.
Appeared to be taking all the way.
Do you have theories on what the wind does in this park? Because I've never really figured it out.
No, I just know, talking to some players the other day after the game, that the wind was really knocking the ball down.
See, it looks like it's blowing out.
Yeah. That's a good swing.
3-2.
See, I don't know if all the signage in the outfield, if that creates a swirling effect. You know, the way the grandstand wraps around a little bit.
Got the ballpark village across the street. 3-2, swing and a miss. So Lynn comes all the way back to get Montero. Make sure you follow Patrick Mooney, our Cubs insider, all season long at CSNChicago.com. Presented by nationwide agent Jeff Vukovich. Go to jeffvuk.com or follow him on social media. Nationwide is on your side. 2 outs. Hayward still at first. Lackey 2 for 2.
John's going to go into that dugout and say, what is the big deal here, fellas? You guys are overthinking this. Get up there, see when you like it, take a whack at it.
Second time of his career he's had 2 hits. Did it last August as a Cub as well. So Jay brought in to share time in center with Albert Almora. The Cubs also mentioned his personality, his clubhouse leadership skills after the retirement of David Ross.
Got a lot of postseason experience from his years with the Cardinals.
Right when he signed with the Cubs at the end of November, his wife Nikki gave birth to twin girls. And he said he wants to mentor Albert Almora like he was mentored here in St. Louis by Carlos Beltran. Did you know that John Jay was at Wrigley Field for the World Series?
No.
He had planned to be in South Bend to see his alma mater Miami play Notre Dame in college football and found a ticket to Game 3. Pretty cool. The 1-2 and a base hit. Here comes Hayward, and the Cubs are on the board. Lackey trying for third. Come on, John. He's in. Jay safe at second. How about the base running by John Lackey?
Yeah, I think he caught everybody by surprise, including me. But yeah, his ability to get to third allows Jay to move into scoring position himself, where base hit could tie this ball game. John Lackey playing the whole game. Jay's always been good. That ball's up in the zone. A good high ball hitter. He gets on top of that one. You see Lackey's breaking it down. He's like Deacon Dexter. Breaking it down at second and then goes ahead, turns the corner, gets to third. Jay in behind him safely at second.
So that could be significant. An outfield single here could tie the ball game. Bottom of the order getting it done. And the pitch to Schwarber is off the outside corner. So Schwarber in that leadoff spot twice today has batted with runners on base. And that was the theory. And Joe Madden said, I'm going to bat the pitcher eighth and I'm going to lead off with Schwarber. This, by the way, is the Cubs' first 3-hit inning in this series.
First real pressure they've put on Lance Lynn here today. 3 up, 3 down the first, second, and fourth innings.
Two and two. Making him work here in the fifth. There it is. It's full, 3-2.
Yeah, he's got a base open. Might not want to give in. I mean, it's a scary proposition, even though Chris Bryant is off to a tough start so far this year and has punched out twice today. Never all that keen about facing the reigning MVP with the bases loaded. Molina wants to make sure that they're on the same page in terms of their thought process before this pitch. He wants to talk to Lynn about how aggressive he wants him to be with this 3-2 offering. Kyle struck out last time, went out of the zone on a pitch that was up and away a little bit. This is where all the homework pays off, all the studying and hitter-pitcher tendencies.
And they're loaded.
Let's see, okay, I'm going to throw him a fastball, but I'm not sure that I trust it. I'm going to throw it 110 miles an hour and just kind of airmailed it.
So here's Bryant. Bases loaded. 2 outs. A run in. First trouble Lynn has had all day. Here we go. Foul tip. 0-1.
Yeah, just a little anxious getting out of his game.
Lackey the runner at third. Jay is at second. Schwarber at first. Matt Bowman just starting to get hot in the Cardinal pen. One. This will be run down by Fowler. So the Cubs settle for 1. They're on the board, 3-1 in the 5th. On CSN, the Bulls head to Philly as they look to build some momentum going into the playoffs. Coverage begins at 5:30 with Bulls pregame live presented by Coors Light and live stream on the NBC Sports app. John Jay with his first hit and RBI as a Cub. Cubs are down 3-1. Cardinals batting here in the 5th.
Checking the wind currents.
Now you can see it It is pretty windy on the field. And Fowler takes a strike.
Oh, good let up by Lackey. There he is, checking the wind, letting everybody know. Might need an extra club.
So the flags in right above the auxiliary scoreboard look like they're blowing out, but as we saw, he had the wind going in the opposite direction. One away.
Yeah, it's above the out-of-town scoreboard here in right field. That's the arch there in the background. And a little different picture out there in left center.
Diaz waves at strike one. Reds lead the Phillies in the 8th, 7-4 in that one. Michael Lorenzen, a pitcher with a pinch hit home run for Cincinnati.
Yeah, he has said he wants to be a two-way player.
Trouble, left field corner. Diaz has a double. Own a piece of Cubs history as part of the Cubs' ongoing effort to restore and modernize Wrigley Field. Several sections of seats have been or will be removed. These seats are now available to purchase in sets of 2. Visit Cubs.com/seat sale for more information. Can't wait to get back home Monday night. Cubs and the Dodgers.
So you see Lackey, who's usually very aggressive throwing that first pitch strike, being very cautious there to Carpenter with a man in scoring position. It's an interesting matchup because Carpenter generally takes the first pitch, but RBI situation, sometimes he changes his approach.
One and one. Good location, 1 and 2.
Struggle in the first, would have been more efficient had they been able to turn the double play, but they did not. And John has done a very nice job not letting that affect him.
Diaz will get third.
Well, that changes the dynamic for sure. Infield will have to come in now.
So a wild pitch charged to Lackey. Cubs would prefer not to give that run right back to the Cardinals that they got in the top of the inning. Full count on Carpenter.
Yeah, you know, Lackey doesn't like to walk people. He's usually very aggressive, but I don't think the mindset here has got to be, let's just try to make a perfect pitcher's pitch. See if Carpenter will be willing to expand. If not, then play for the double play with Molina. Again, big pitch merits a conversation. chase pitch for Lackey against a left-handed hitter a lot of times is that slider down and in towards the back foot. In this situation, sometimes the elevated fastball is a good idea because hitters with a man on third, less than 2 outs, are looking up. I just want to get something up that I can lift in the air, hit a fly ball. Well, go higher than high. Get up, above that happy zone, about shoulder high. Again, Carpenter doesn't chase a lot, but if your thinking is you don't mind walking him in this situation, that's not a bad play.
That's exactly what happens.
The exact situation they had back in the first with Molina up there, 1 out, first and third.
Swing and a miss.
It's a very defensive swing on 0-0. Like it was almost like you would see a hitter swing with 2 strikes.
Fouled away.
He's really trying to stay inside the ball to make sure he gets it airborne, to stay out of that double play.
The pitch out in the left center. It'll be Schwarber to make the grab. But a sac fly for Molina. 4-1. So they answer right back.
Wild pitch factors in the scoring. 2-strike pitch. Molina quiet with the lower body, uses the hands, gets the job done. His second RBI of the day.
Carpenter's at first, 2 outs, a run in.
John just shook his head no 8 times.
Well, it was the 9th sign that he knew was going to be a called strike. Mentioned Adams had never played the outfield prior to Tuesday night. Prior to the spring, he hadn't recalled playing in the outfield since Little League. And as you said, his ability to play the outfield is pretty important. He wants to keep that bat in the lineup. Popped up, foul territory. Bryant over there with Montero, but no play.
Yeah, and I think Adams is a guy, a hitter who you could still see develop more power. He's a big, strong guy, obviously, but he's always been more of a line drive type hitter. 16 home runs last year, but I think there's more in there if he were to make some mechanical changes in his swing, perhaps. But Brandon Moss, big power threat, is gone. Matt Holliday is no longer in a Cardinal uniform, so they need numbers from Matt Adams. Johnny Peralta getting the day off, at least to this point. The Cardinal hitters, he's the guy who's had the best numbers against John Lackey, but Mike Matheny, like every other manager this time of the year, trying to get all his guys into the mix.
Adams fans to end the inning. Sac fly Molina makes it 4-1 St. Louis after 5.
on Monday, July 17th with special guest Bonnie Raitt. Don't miss your chance to see this Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. Tickets are available now at Cubs.com/James Taylor.
Cubs trail by 3 once again. Rizzo with a little tapper foul. Well, they're playing today in Chicago. That's good news. Tigers and White Sox. White Sox have a 2-1 lead in the third. Game time temp was 48.
Very windy back there today, though, right?
Very windy in the Midwest. Bowman is up again.
Yeah, they may be going just batter by batter here with Lynn now as he approaches 90 pitches. I don't know if they'll have a conservative approach with him coming off a year of not inactivity. He was working to come back, but he did not pitch last year.
Three and one. Rizzo can open the throttle here. The Cubs AAA affiliate, the Iowa Cubs, will open their season tonight in Oklahoma City against the Dodgers affiliate. I think South Bend got rained out. I think they're on the road. West Michigan, they're going to play a doubleheader tomorrow. 3-2. Rizzo. Line shot out into deep left, and it's over Adams, who falls down. Rizzo to second. He's got a double.
Good start for the Cubs in the sixth. Rizzo works a deep count. Fastball out over the plate. I don't know if a more experienced left fielder would have made a play on this ball, but I was pretty sure Matt Adams was not going
to. An awkward looking spill.
Required a better read and would have changed the angle on the approach to that ball, but that's not an easy play with a left-handed hitter hitting the ball kind of on a line in that direction. And again, a guy out there with virtually no experience in the outfield, that was going to be a tough go.
Zobrist 0 for 5 in the series. Most valuable player of the World Series last year. Played on the world champion Royals the season before. He pops it up, but no play. Ben's wife Juliana will sing God Bless America prior to the home opener Monday. That will precede Wayne Messmer's national anthem.
Wayne came out to Arizona and sang out there a couple of times to get ready for opening day.
He did. In fine mid-season form. That'll be banner night Monday, the ring ceremony prior to next Wednesday night's game. Two balls, two strikes. Looking forward to the new plaza, and every time we step into Wrigley Field for the first time in a season here these last few years, lots of new stuff. Look at Lynn in that jersey in the pants. The wind, it's really gusting. Busted him inside. Full count.
Yeah, see now, Ben, I don't think he was wearing these glasses last time up, was he? Different pair of glasses going on there. Wind could be an issue for hitters too, especially if guys wear contact lenses. A day like today, get dry.
That will get Rizzo to third with one out.
No doubt hoping for more, but at least getting Rizzo to third base with one out will make Russell's job a little easier. It will not be against Lance Lynn, however. Double switch time for the Cardinals, it looks like.
So Mike Matheny telling Quinn Wolcott of his plans, including Stephen Piscotty into the game. Looks like Matt Adams is coming out. Grichuk's going to head to the other corner outfield spot. Matt Bowman when we come back. Weber's sauces and seasoning. Call grilling flavor to the bigs.
This is right-hander Matt Bowman into the ball game for the Cardinals. He pitched a scoreless inning on Tuesday. He throws a fastball, low 90s slider. Leans heavily on his slider. Also has a changeup. Last year was his rookie year with St. Louis.
So Piscotty is into the game in right. Grichuk heads over to left. Adams is out. That's where the pitcher spot will be in the batting order. Infield back with a 3-run lead. And ball one.
Talking about Russell last time he was up in his development, cutting down on the strikeout rate. Huge splits difference last year, home and road. Put up very good numbers at Wrigley and did not on the road, and that's not atypical for a young hitter. I suspect those road numbers will get a lot better this year.
Sitting now in a favorable count. Bowman set. Here it is. Pulled foul. So let's go back to that double by Rizzo. And this is the one great thing about the new analytics and StatCast, all this stuff. So when you see the way Adams played this ball, just aesthetically, it didn't look good, right? Well, we now can say that the way that ball was hit, StatCast basically said 7 out of 10 times that ball is caught. So that, to me, JD, is the value of all these new numbers and the way they're able to measure defensive movements down the left field line, and this one will go foul. So, for instance, the Adams fly ball that was caught by Almora, 9 out of 10 times that's a home run at that launch angle and exit velocity. So
let me ask you this, and I think I know the answer. I'm pretty sure you will. Does outfielder positioning matter, or do they just take a look at the launch angle?
I don't know how they formulate what they do. Hit hard, kicks off the mound to Wong. He'll take the out at first. Russell gets an RBI on the ground out. Rizzo in. It's 4-2.
Well, again, the same story with Russell as Zobrist, hoping for more, but premium there, making sure you put the ball in play, hit it sharply. The mound took a bite out of it. Probably cost him the base hit. He'll have to settle for an RBI ground out. Wong well positioned. Yeah, so I'm guessing, right, they must, take into account the position of the fielder, velocity, launch angle, where the ball ended up, and say, well, 7 out of 10 times that guy's going to run that ball down. Or do they just have a database of historical outcomes that says a ball hit that high, that's
a great question.
That angle is turned into an out? I don't know.
Darren Willman, great follow on Twitter, Director of Baseball Research and Development for MLB. This could be a hit, and it is. Infield single, Jason Hayward. That'll work. Played like a bunt.
Big of beauty. 2-hit day for Jason. Solid line drive single to right last time. And little gyro ball to Jerko. A gyro to Jerko.
Willman sent out a tweet this offseason that I thought was pretty cool. He said Jason Hayward did not misplay a fly ball all of last year. Essentially, a ball that should have been caught was. There was one blooper that fell in at Wrigley Field, but Willman said that ball was, quote, charged to Zobrist. Making a lot of advances in defensive metrics. One and one. In the air, Grichuk has it. Cubs get another run, back within 2. 2 one-run games Sunday and Tuesday. 2-run games so far. John Lackey's been real good. 3 of the 4 runs he gave up, you could say, should not have scored due to a missed double play opportunity. As he works here in the 6th inning, 7 strikeouts through 5 innings.
What did I miss? Anything?
You missed
a promo?
Nothing. Just talking about John Lackey.
Talking ball.
You are welcome to jump in. 1-1. Justin Grimm is getting loose in the Cubs bullpen. Even if John works a quick 1-2-3, probably it for him is his spot due to lead off in the 7th. Although he is 2 for 2.
A point no doubt he will make to the manager.
Even if he were 2 for 2 with 2 homers, he probably still wouldn't bat.
Yeah.
Which kind of begs the question: how great a day would John Lackey have had? How good would he have to be at the plate to get that extra at bat?
There's no amount of good.
I would say you're right.
Now, no amount of good on any given day for a particular pitcher. Now, some pitchers are historically so good with the bat, you give them that AB. You know, Bumgarner.
Sure. Charged by Bryant, who had a really good night defensively Tuesday. Opening week continues tomorrow on CSN as the Cubs head to Milwaukee to take on the Brewers. Coverage begins at 7. Cubs pregame live presented by Fields Auto Group or live stream on the NBC Sports app. Cubs pregame live starts at 6:30. First pitch just after 7. Ball 1 to Jerko. So Jed Jerko hit 30 homers last year, knocked in 59, so he drove in himself more than his teammates. Since 1901, it's the fewest RBIs in a 30-homer season, along with Curtis Granderson, who did the exact same thing for the Mets last year.
Granderson was hitting leadoff all year, wasn't he?
Yes. Ground ball past Lackey, but Zobrist makes the play.
The Cubs are introducing a game-changing new premier experience at Wrigley Field with seats featuring prime views and access to an exclusive club. This experience will allow fans to enjoy Cubs baseball in a whole new way. Visit CubsPremier.com to join the Premier Client Priority List. Fans may remember Tommy Herr here years ago with the Cardinals. Drove in over 100 one year and had, I think, 8 home runs. A lot of times it's just a function of where you are in the batting order and who's ahead of you, things of that nature. I need to get that cap right there. Need to add to my cold weather gear.
Out of bounds, Zobrist with the snag. 4-2 Cardinals. We go to the 7th. That's Cecil. Left-hander will work here in the 7th, and the Cubs will have a pinch hitter, Matt Caesar.
Mackey's day is done. Solid effort from Big John this afternoon, but right now he's on the wrong end of a 4-2 score. We saw Cecil Tuesday night, the veteran left-hander who signed a multi-year free agent contract with the Cardinals this offseason, the former Blue Jay. And boy, he had a real good changeup the other night. Good sinker, good curve.
Matt had a good spring. Made the ball club. Was out of options. Pulled foul. In the end, Brian Dunsing went to the DL with a back issue, so the Cubs have 13 position players and 12 pitchers on the roster. And with all these off days, that makes sense. Jay and Schwarber to follow.
At this time of year,
listed.
a lot of times you're worried more about your bullpen guys being rusty from lack of use than worn out from overuse.
Emergency swing that time by Matt.
Matt did a nice job as a pinch hitter last year. Had 12 pinch hits, batted .261 off the bench. Well above average. League average for pinch hitting usually hovers around the 200 mark. It's a tough job.
I don't think there's any doubt as he swings and misses. Molina, though, can't find the ball. It's right at his feet, and Caesar reaches. It's actually, look at this. It's stuck to his chest protector. I have never seen that before.
Makes me
Has he got some pine tar on his chest protector?
Yeah, I believe he does. Is he playing with Velcro?
Are you kidding me?
Well, it's either something on his chest protector or something on that baseball.
So the Cubs will gladly take it. It's crazy. We didn't say gold chest protectors, we said gold gloves. Carpenter holds on Caesar at first. 1-1 fouled off. Good pass at the ball by Jay.
Yeah,
1-2.
Jay's always been good against left-handed pitching. If you're at home wondering why is he not pinch hitting with the lefty on the mound at this stage of the ball game.
I think Yadier Molina is going to have to answer some questions about why he's got some sticky substance on his chest protector. Throw to first. Caesar back.
Last year against lefties, he batted .311. For his career, I'm guessing 280-ish. Well, you know, you could see a catcher putting a little pine tar on his chest protector, shin guard somewhere where he's just trying to help his feel for throwing the ball on a cold day.
Might it leave a little residue for his battery mate?
It might.
3-2 misses, ball 4. Cubs have something going, and here comes Schwarber.
Follow Cubs Baseball live with the MLB.com at Bat mobile app. Stay connected to the game's best players all season long with game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcast, stats, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat today. It's your #1 app for live baseball. Yeah, it just, you know, so many pitchers go out to the mound nowadays with pine tar somewhere on their hat, on their glove. Most hitters don't complain. You know, the argument being that not defacing the ball to try to create unnatural movement. We're just trying to get better grip. So I don't know if it makes sense to load the catcher up in that.
Right. Kyle Schwarber just hit one a ton. 3-run homer. Cubs lead 5-4. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, you were talking earlier about his last couple of at-bats with men on base. And that's the thing about Schwarber. Yes, he's a leadoff man, but that doesn't mean he's going to come up there leading off an inning all the time. He's going to have plenty of chances to drive in runs with the depth of this lineup. And boy, did he deliver a big blow off the tough left-hander. Schwarbified. Yikes. It's your Ford home run replay. What a pretty swing by Kyle Schwarber.
That was a fun Ford home run replay. Cubs have a 5-4 lead. Two-0 on Bryant.
John Lackey now has a chance to be a winning pitcher today.
That one caught Molina in a bad spot. Former Cub Miguel Sokolovich. High, ball 3, 3-1. John Lackey can get a win. And he walked him.
That's a good take.
Lilliquist.
That's a great take by Bryant. Looking for his first hit of the year. At times today, he's looked a little anxious going out of the strike zone at some of those elevated fastballs. It's a chase pitch there. A fastball count, a changeup just below the knees. A lot of guys are going to offer at that one. On it the whole way, tracking it, taking his walk.
Rizzo doubled and scored in the 6th. Cubs have put up runs in each of the last 3 innings. Trailing 3-0 and 4-1, now have a 5-4 advantage in the 7th. Still nobody out and a strike called. That's wide. 1-1. A lot of things can happen in a ball game, but you love that 3-run homer. One big swing can really turn things around. So what would you guess? When a team hits a 3-run homer, their winning percentage has got to be .850.
Go with that. I'll accept that.
Although the Cubs are 0-1 this year. Contreras hit one on Sunday night.
Okay, 750.
There's Hector Rondon. Looks like he'll be the man in the bottom of this inning. That will get through. Bryant will make his way to third.
Pressure busts the pipe, keep the line moving. Mike Matheny going to make another pitching change. Series of really good work by the Cub hitters in this inning.
Pitching change. Cubs lead 5-4, and they're trying to get some more here in the 7th. And now Sokolovic.
Sokolovic working for the second time this year. There you see his numbers from last season. As I mentioned earlier, a little time with the Cubs, cup of coffee with the Cubs back in 2012. Also spent some time with Baltimore that year. 6 or 7 years of minor league seasoning before he ever got to the big leagues. A good chunk of that was with the White Sox.
6'1", 205, 30 years old, from Venezuela. Bryant at third, Rizzo at first, nobody out. Cardinals playing for a double play opportunity in the middle of the infield. One strike on Zobrist.
Sokolovic, a finesse type pitcher, doesn't throw particularly hard, has a good changeup. Ground outs for Zobrist today. Hit it sharply last time. You know he'd love to deliver here after the error opened things up for the Cardinals way back in the first inning. Can't allow that kind of thinking to cloud your mind, though, right? You know, you make a big error, you can't get sullen. You got a whole ball game to play, and you can't force the issue. You can't, I'm going to try to do something heroic and have that mindset take you out of your game. You still just got to have good at bats.
Well, that's why we talk so much about that mental strength that you need in this game. Closer's ability to bounce back after blowing a save. (2-1).
Yeah, I guess the only thing you can tell yourself is just focus, stay in the moment. Really stay mentally locked in. And in other sports, in basketball, you turn the ball over, you can, go back as hard as possible on defense. You can, kind of try to bring more energy. Really don't do that in baseball.
Trying harder does not really do you much good. That's out number one.
How do you get to Wrigley Field? Practice, practice, practice. The Cubs suggest taking public transportation. The Cubs offer a free bike check. I've been waiting all winter to say that. The bike check is located by the Addison Red Line station. For drivers, the Cubs provide free remote parking and shuttle service on night and weekend games. For information, visit the A to Z guide at Cubs.com.
That could be a big out for Sokolovic. Now a double play could get him out of the inning.
And Joe, think about a little safety squeeze here.
Yeah, middle infielders have moved in a little bit, not all the way. So they have an option to either throw home or possibly try to turn two.
There's that good changeup from Sokolovic, and Russell didn't see it well at all.
Rizzo fakes toward second. Russell shows bunt, pulls it back. So a lot of things happening there, but basically it's ball one.
Yeah, I think a little bluff there. Rizzo trying to get some infielders on the move, maybe creating a situation where they crash a little bit, opening up a hole for Russell, who showed bunt and pulled back. Bottom of the order, it's almost a default play for Joe to put the safety squeeze on.
That plays like a bunt. Throw will go to first. Out there. A run is in. Bryant scores, and it's 6-4. Russell will get an RBI. That is the faux safety squeeze.
He's so good, he can take a full swing. That's a good read by Bryant, too. If he hesitates, gets locked up there, maybe Sokolovic has a chance to make a play on him, but good read early on. Good aggressive break. Productive outs has been a theme for the Cubs here today.
That is the fourth run driven in today in this game on a non-hit. Or album cut, if you prefer that phrase.
Side B.
But unless you're the Beatles, they can't all be hits. The 0-1. Ooh, ouch. And as Hayward gets plunked. Third time he's reached.
It means everybody gets a turn this inning. Well, better there on that part of the leg than knee or shin.
First and second, Montero takes a strike on the outer third. High drive out into deep center. Fowler makes the catch on the warning track. The Cubs put up 4 runs, 3 on this home run by Kyle Schwarber. They have a 2-run lead. Here's Hector Rondon.
Hector, last season, he had 18 saves and 23 tries. Lost that job when they acquired Aroldis Chapman. Pitched to a 3.53 ERA. Spent some time on the DL with a right tricep strain. Some struggles late in the year.
If you just joined us, the Cardinals got off to an early lead. 3 runs in the first inning, helped by a Ben Zobrist error. One of those runs unearned. Kyle Schwarber, though, erasing all of that with 1 swing. 3-run homer in the 7th. Cubs have their first lead. Starters were both effective today. So Rondon had a tough spring. But it all starts for real here today for him.
Yeah, Joe Madden was asked by the writers about Hector Rondon at the end of spring training. Joe said, I don't have any concerns as long as he's healthy and throwing the ball well, and we liked the way the ball was coming out of his hands. The results weren't good.
Scotty, his first at bat since that crazy trip around the bases the other night, needs a new bat. Career .297 ERA for Rondon. Former Rule 5 pick. Turned 29 in late February. This one shot foul to right. Paid crowd today, 44,039. So 47, 46, 44 for the series. High on the 0-2. He struck him out. 96 on the fastball.
Well, it's great work there. Threw the ball right to the spot that Montero asked for. Starting slider. And I think that's what Piscotty was looking for in this situation, and he just slices off the outside corner.
Fowler swings and sends a fly into left center. John Jay with a stumble before he made the catch. Two gone, it's Diaz. 2 for 3 with a double, 2 runs. Slider is low. It's a final in Cincinnati as the Reds beat the Phils 7-4. Schwarber makes the catch. Nice season debut for Hector Rondon. 7 pitches, 3 outs. 6-4 Cubs. Now at eclicklending.com. eClick is located right here in Chicagoland, rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. eClick Lending. Boom! Your mortgage just happened. I have a feeling you will read that better than I will.
No, you can't do any better than that.
As time moves on. 4 spot for the Cubs in the 7th. They bat in the 8th. And it's Javier Baez off the bench. And this is convenient because then he can stay in and play defense.
Yeah, probably Javi to second and Zobrist to left.
Off the end of the bat foul.
It's also good because predicted that he would play in 149 games this year. So
right.
Got to get him in there. There's Pedro Strop. Did I say 9th? It's only the 8th.
It is the 8th.
Were you tempted when we came on the air today to say hello, friends? A tradition like no other?
No, I wasn't. But now I might have to this weekend. Now, Jim Nantz says that for all the sports he calls, right?
Yeah. What a week for him. The Final Four and the Masters. It's a pretty good deal. Pretty good gig he's got going.
1-2. Fly ball right field. Racing in is Piscotty. Good ball game for John Jay from the 9 spot. A hit, a walk, a run, and an RBI. Fastball is wide. 1-0. So the Reds take 2 of 3 from the Phillies to start their season. Dodgers have a 4-0 lead over the Padres in the 5th. That will get down. And Jay's going to try to make second. And he does. Ball got past Grichuk.
Keep going. Keep going. Little league home run potential. Could be a single and an E on somebody out there. Maybe Fowler backing up. Couldn't come up with it cleanly. Looked pretty harmless when he left his bat, but he's got the head down. He's chugging. He knows he's got a chance to dump it in there. They shorten up for him in the outfield to begin with, but somebody can make a play on that ball, and Gade's in scoring position with just 1 out.
Single E7. So each team with an error. Schwarber, the biggest swing of this game. 3-run homer to give the Cubs the lead in the 7th. And it was awful lefty Brett Cecil.
Yeah, I think in this at bat, and I don't know what Kyle's mindset is, but I think a lot of hitters would just, especially a left-handed hitter against this guy, would just sit changeup. I'm going to get a changeup at some point in this sequence, and I'm going to be ready for it.
Ooh. Time for our hefty home run. There was a lot of heft behind this swing.
That was a Ruthian clout.
He could not hold the bat back. 1-2. Outside in that Dodger game today, 4-0. They lead the Padres in the 5th. Brandon McCarthy, who hasn't worked a whole lot the last 2 years due to injury, 5 innings so far, 2 hits, no runs. Yasiel Puig hitting near the bottom of the Dodger order, off to a sizzling start. He's got 3 home runs. He's hit 2 today and knocked in all 4 of the Dodger runs. Called strike 3.
Come back 2-seam fastball to the inside corner. That was really good work by Skolovich.
We'll get a good look at the Dodgers next week. I think they're the 2nd best team in the National League behind the Cubs. And that was thinking Yasiel Puig is a total wild card. If he gets back to where he was when he came up to the big leagues, That's going to be a really good offense. Outside for a ball, 1-1.
I've seen some of those analytical projections that actually argue that the Dodgers are the best team in the National League.
Pretty lengthy lineup.
Yeah,
with
good lineup.
Seager, Turner, Gonzalez.
Vulnerable to lefties, though, right? That's still going to be an issue.
That's why John Lester's going to start Monday. Charged by Jerko, and he gets him. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Cubs 6, Cardinals 4. Welcome back. Pedro Strop here in the 8th.
He's on a pace to pitch 162 ball games this year. That would be a record. First one not good. He gave up a 2-run home run to Randall Grichuk in the 8th inning on opening night. He has had tough go of it here in St. Louis, but Tuesday bounced back with a scoreless inning. Got 3, 4, 5 to contend with here. 5 is the pitcher spot, so we'll see a pinch hitter there.
So Zobrist left, Baez second. One from Strop. Fastball outside. Nice work by Rondon. 1, 2, 3, 7th. And a 2-1. Off the end of the bat. A lot of English on it. Fielded cleanly by Bryant. They get Carpenter.
wonder how many times it will take for Chris Bryant to field a slow roller like that for Cub fans to think of anything other than the final out of the World Series.
We've had a few of those already this week.
It'd be like, Pavlov's dog, every time Bryant fields a ground ball, people just start jumping up and down.
The Cubs win the World Series. Ball 1 to Molina. He's knocked in 2 today without a hit. Kick and the 2-0.
The slide ball there and just didn't finish it. It's Greg Garcia out on deck. I thought Matheny might go with Peralta, who's got good numbers against Strop. Garcia, a very competent pinch hitter.
4-pitch walk.
At that.
Well, Greg Garcia homered off Strop a couple of years ago here for his first career homer. As Chris Bosio heads out to the mound.
I see a career 340 pinch hitter. 18 out of 53. Last year in the pinch, a 348 hitter. He's due for some regression.
Out back of the plate. Mark Reynolds with a home run for the Rockies today in Milwaukee. Kurt Neuenhuis tied it in the 7th with a homer.
I thought he only homered against the Cubs.
Yeah, it felt like that. So they go to the 9th inning in a 1-1 tie. I referenced it earlier. Jake Arrieta will pitch Sunday and swap spots with John Lester, who will get the home opener Monday against the Dodgers. So the Cubs will have 2 lefties versus LA. Garcia was able to hold. So Strop has now missed on 7 of his last 8. It's 3-1.
And I would think if he loses Garcia here, we're going to see Edwards.
How many half swings do you see on 3-1?
Yeah, that was kind of funky. The combination of the half swing and the proximity to the corner all added up to a strike for Quinn Wolcott, the home plate umpire.
Past Rizzo, stopped by Baez, Strop to the bag, dropped. Second drop today by a Cub.
Just getting ready to give him high marks for getting over there, because sometimes a pitcher will give up on that play, assuming the first baseman is just going to catch it, take it to the bag. He did the right thing hustling over there and just could not secure the throw.
The throw is right on the money. So that'll be an error on Strop, and unfortunately for Pedro, that'll mean the end of his afternoon.
The irony, of course, Strop started his career as an infielder.
Yep. So it'll be Carl Edwards Jr. when we come back in the 8th. Here's Carl Edwards Jr., 4th Cub pitcher to work today. He'll face a first and second one-out situation, and Randall Grichuk coming up.
Carl working for the second time this year. He worked the scoreless inning opening night. He struck out 52 men last year in 36 innings of work in the regular season. Grichuk, a dangerous hitter, but a guy who strikes out a fair bit.
Grichuk has knocked in 4 runs in the series, and he takes a curve high. Carl's still just 25, 6'3", $170. And the 1-0 is a strike. It's that 4-seam fastball. It's got a little cutting action. Swing and a miss. Tough one to catch up to. He struck him out.
Why not go right back up there? Guy shows a willingness to chase that high ball, especially if you have the kind of stuff that Edwards does. He likes to elevate at 95. You might as well just make him prove that he has the ability to lay off that pitch.
Jerko with 2 outs. Molina at second. Garcia at first.
Get over breaking ball. That becomes a real key for a guy like Edwards. It creates a little anxiety in the hitter, and they'll start to chase that high heater.
Oh, and 2. Two strikes to Jerko.
Cubs have a bunch of power arms in that bullpen, man. Just about all of them go 95 plus, and one guy who doesn't, Uehara, still posts huge strikeout numbers.
One, 2 misses. You know, he's missed badly on these last 2, but if you're going to miss with 2 strikes, it's not a bad place to miss. As you say, you want to miss in your favor.
Yeah, miss out of the zone as opposed to a mistake over the heart of the plate.
2-2. Oh, how did he not swing? 3-2.
Inside locked him up. I think, you know, you get 2 strikes, he's protecting against a high fastball. He wants to make sure he can cover the outside part of the plate. I think he just got fooled and was at the mercy of the umpire. If that pitch makes its way back to the corner, he's out.
Action time for the runners with 2 outs. Here it comes. This time he got him on the curveball. So Edwards comes in, strands a couple. We go to the ninth. 6-4 Cubs. The game presented by Binny's Beverage Depot. Kyle Schwarber, go ahead, 3-run homer in the 7th inning off the lefty Cecil. Binny's Beverage Depot is the official champagne provider of the Chicago Cubs. So 2-run ball game, 9th inning. It'll be Rizzo, Zobrist, and Russell. And a new pitcher for the Cardinals, Sam Tuivalala.
One of the great names in all of baseball. You see his numbers from last year, limited time. Throws hard. He's got a good arm.
will be, unless the Cubs score a bunch here, Wade Davis in another safe spot in the bottom of the ninth. And ball one on Rizzo. Anthony with a couple of hits today as he fouls to the screen.
AAA last year, Tuivailala in 46 and 2/3 innings struck out 72 batters. I'm guessing his teammates call him Tui.
Here's 1-1. Line foul to left, out of play. There's the new Cubs closer. 1-for-1 in saved chances. Well, a good sequence for Tuivailala. Really worked the edges there, both sides against Rizzo to strike him out. Feels colder than it did at first pitch, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
55 when we started. I've got 58 now, but they have 56 out there, and
they're using a different gun.
Board. Yep. Well struck and a base hit. Zobrist 1 out of 5 after that single.
Yeah, it was good for the mental health. 0 for 4, hadn't gotten the ball out of the infield yet, made an error early in the ball game. That time, good swing of the bat, got the head out in front of that fastball. Sharply struck.
So the Cubs have 9 hits since the 5th inning. The last Cardinal hit was in the 5th. Russell made it a 2-run game on an RBI ground out in the 7th. Our toast of the game, Kyle Schwarber, looks on. Cubs and Cardinals may not play more close games than other rivals. It does feel that way, however.
Cubs won the season series 10-9 last year.
Well, the road team got a better record than the home team in that season series. Piscotty for the second out.
Cubs won 6 out of 9 here last season. In that season series, 9 of those games were decided by 2 runs or less. There were 6 one-run games.
What's he saying?
I don't know, he went too fast for me.
3 reaches by Hayward. Single, hit by pitch. Bounce to first. Fair ball. Side retired. Cubs lead 1. Here comes Wade Davis leading 6-4. Save opportunity in as many games for Wade Davis. Cub debut was on a Tuesday night in preserving a 2-1 victory.
Yeah, got his Cub career off to a clean start after a bit of a rocky spring, but apparently that's nothing new. He said he has struggled in spring training throughout his career. And it's been an outstanding career. Davis originally with the Tampa Rays was a starting pitcher, mixed success in that role, moved along to Kansas City, likewise there, then became a setup man, one of the better setup men in the league before becoming the closer. And he has really dominated. The last 3 seasons he has been at the top of MLB in terms of ERA, opponent on base plus slugging, and home runs allowed. He's only allowed 3 home runs total in those 3 seasons.
2-time All-Star, had some arm issues, couple of DL stints last year. But still had a 187 and over 43 innings of work. So facing Colton Wong and nursing a 2-run lead. Strike 1, fastball 93. He does have a starter's repertoire. He did throw a slider and a changeup as a starter. That is foul. Foul ball to right. Call made by Chris Siegel. I don't believe that's reviewable, right? On a ball in front of the base umpire? Because Mike Matheny is looking to see if they want to review it.
Nobody's indicating to him that he cannot review it, so perhaps that has changed.
I think he's going to ask Quinn Wolcott. Previously, those fair foul calls in front of that umpire down the baseline was not reviewable. And so they will talk to Paul Emmel and say, can we look?
Yeah, now it doesn't have to land in fair territory once it crosses the bag. If it bounces over the base, it can still land in foul territory.
So 2 strikes to Wong. Fouled away. Yeah, so fastball, cutter, curve is what you'll mostly see from Wade Davis, the short reliever.
Yeah, and he can shape that curveball. That's almost like a slider. He throws it awfully hard. An 84-mile-an-hour curveball. Grimm throws his curveball very hard, so similar to Justin in that regard. But he can make it a little bigger, take a little bit off of it. But mostly you're going to see fastball, cutter, and that power curve.
Count holds at 1-2. I guess 2-2. Piscotty and Fowler for the Cardinals here in the 9th. He's run it full, 3-2. Going to get to the wall, and Wong has a 2-bagger to start the Cardinal 9th, and that will get the tying run to the plate. Lead-off double.
Two-seam fastball running toward the outside part of the plate. Davis had to challenge. Wong put up a real good fight there. Got him into a deep count and then put a good swing on it. His run not all that important. It's a 2-run lead, but a good start for the Cardinals here in the 9th.
Low on Piscotty. Caught looking on strikes in the 7th against Hector Rondon. Davis 6'5", 225. Baez to Rizzo. Runner at third, as JD mentioned, not really a factor. Got to get some outs here. So that's the first one. Now Fowler. In the series, Dexter is 3 out of 12 with a run scored. Ball gets away, but Wong's going to hold at third.
No sense for him to be overly aggressive down there at third.
Rockies did beat the Brewers 2-1 to take 3 out of 4. A Nolan Arenado game-winning home run in the 9th. So all the runs in that game today came on solo homers. 1-2.
Wind really gusting. You see the pine tar rag rolling around in the background.
Yank foul.
Fowler's been better as a right-handed hitter throughout his career, but good from both sides of the plate.
Another knockdown by Montero. 2-2.
The breakdown from last season.
A pitch. 3-2 to Fowler.
And Mike Matheny's going to like having Fowler at the top of his order. Discipline. He'll do some damage. Steal a few bags for him.
Everybody back on the infield. The 3-2 to Fowler. Swing and a miss. 2 gone.
Cut fastball at 92 miles an hour. Devastating.
Diaz with 2 outs. The pitch. Strike 1 on a fastball. Cubs lost 4-3 in the opener. Won 2-1 on Tuesday. Leads 6-4 here in the series finale. After this one, still 16 left in the regular season between these two clubs. 2 strikes on Diaz. Here's the pitch. 1-2. More Cub blue in the stands today than for the first 2 games of the series. And they're on their feet. 1-2. It is going to roll foul. Some closers like to storm around the mound, stare down the opponent, snort, do all of that stuff. Wade Davis kind of looks like he's contemplating a public speech.
It's more of a Clint Eastwood, that stoic. Take a bite of the jaw, glint in the eye. Now spit.
In the air, Hayward's got it. Cubs win. Cubs win. They take 2 out of 3. from their arch rivals. And a nice comeback win today as Kyle Schwarber with the big 3-run homer in the 7th.
Yeah, it was a nice day. You know, the Cubs fell behind early. They gave up a 3 spot in the first inning because of a critical error, but John Lackey didn't buckle. He hung in there, pitched solid baseball the rest of the way, earned himself a win, and Schwarber with the big blow to turn this game around.
So it was well worth the wait. And we are back with you tomorrow, 6:30 for our pregame coverage from Milwaukee. Cubs and Brewers. Brett Anderson will make his Cub debut against right-hander Jimmy Nelson. For JD and our entire CSN crew, Len Casper with your